Hey, how's it going? My name is Daniel Calderon, and welcome back to Corner Talks. Forgiving yourself. Why is it so hard? Why do we struggle to forgive not only ourselves, but others? Forgiving yourself is an act of discipline, and forgiving others is an act of courage. What people fail to realize is that true forgiveness applies to those that we favor and to those that have wronged us. And too many of us get caught up in that struggle of not knowing, who deserves our forgiveness. And too often we guilt ourselves into thinking we don't even deserve our own forgiveness for things that we've made a mistake in, for things that we might have upset people over, or for things that are out of our control. However, forgiving yourself as well as forgiving others is the first step into moving forward and letting go. Having said that, these are how you can forgive yourself and forgive others. When we go through a moment, a situation in which we've been wronged, we've been screwed over, people have genuinely hurt us, maybe physically, emotionally, it's very hard to suppress the emotions that come our way. Not only because we don't want to feel these emotions, it's very painful. No one wants to feel rejection or embarrassment, humiliation, but it's also because it's directly influenced from our parents and our society. People often tell you that you shouldn't show your true side. You shouldn't wear a heart on your sleeve. And the reason why they say this is because people fear that vulnerability. People feel that interaction with others where they know a side of you that is now exposed, and they're now afraid it will be used against you. And people, rightfully so, have those worries, and they should, because there are people out there that are very cynical, very conniving, manipulative, and they can use those things against you. But I believe when you're with yourself, even in your alone in your thoughts, we still carry that restriction. We still carry that barrier to not really fully explore who we are. And I often experience this when I go through a struggle, when I go through something that has really hurt me by something or someone. And even in a room, isolated from everybody, with no one to judge me, I still fight and I still resist, I should say, these emotions that kind of flow through me. And the reason why I speak this to you is because it's not healthy. It's not healthy to suppress these kinds of emotions. It's not healthy to put them away, because as much as they may feel vacant, as much as people might feel that they're ignored, and if it's out of sight, out of mind, they're just dormant. They're not really available until the worst situation, the worst kind of moment were to strike. And in other words, you think they're gone. You think these emotions aren't around you. You think that feeling of being upset or angry or that hatred is going to go away if you ignore it. But the reality is that it's going to creep up on you, and it's going to happen when you least expect it, in a time when you don't want to expect it. Some can be eliminated and some have to be managed, and they cannot be just simply tolerated. In order to really start beginning to forgive yourself and forgive others, you really need to start looking at your emotions, start looking inward, start really understanding why these emotions come about, and sit yourself down. I always talk about journaling and meditating, but it's really helped for me, especially journaling, because I love to write. I'm a writer. And I just write all my thoughts, anything that comes to mind. All the anger, the happiness, the sadness, the frustration, the joyful moments, anything. It doesn't have to be always negative. And just write out all the things that you feel. Get that energy out on the page, and you use that to look at the emotions, to observe them, and to see how you can fix them. As soon as something's happened to us, mistakes, struggles, financial loss, loss of a loved one, breakup, heartbreak, whatever have you, we immediately think that it's there to hurt us, when in reality, it should be seen from a different approach. Learning experiences come from different ways, different methods. It's not as conventional as you think. It's not you sit in class and you take your notes from the teacher and those are learning lessons. Learning lessons happen when you least expect them. They happen throughout life. But now it's time to look at it from another approach. Now it's time to look at all those things that have happened to you, that have wronged you, and say, what can I get out of it? See, we so quick to be dismissive about it. We're so quick to say, nope, that thing hurt me. I don't want it in my life. I don't want to think about it. It was toxic. It was this, it was that. And we just, like I said, ignore it. We put it to the side. But the reality is that maybe it happened for a reason. You know, I'm a firm believer in things happening for a reason. And maybe things have happened because they're trying to teach you something. And whether it's to teach you directly, indirectly, there's always something in life that you can learn from. There's always something from an experience, an event, a person that you can look at and say, what did I do? What did I do wrong? How can I be better? And you know, my experiences, whether it was a breakup, a career loss, you know, just struggling to figure out my passion and pursue it, I've always taken those situations and I've always said, you know, not as quickly, I should say, but I did have that moment where I would be like, this happened for a reason. Something happened. And now I can ignore it and repeat it in the future, or I can look at it now and say, what went wrong? Or how can I be better to prevent that same feeling of animosity and pain and suffering and, you know, just outright sadness. You see, if you look at these situations as a learning experience, if you look at people in your lives that have hurt you, have wronged you as a learning experience, you start to realize that it's okay to forgive yourself because you're human and it's just another lesson of life being taught. Too many of us think that we're perfect. Too many of us think that we have it all figured out. I know at my age, I see the people around me, I see my community. We want to show that, and social media doesn't help. I'm guilty of it too. And maybe that's how I'm perceived whenever I do these videos or whenever I post content on social media. But you and I both know that's not the case. You and I both know that we're struggling. We have a lot of things that we need to take care of. We need to sort out. And forgiving yourself is the first step. And you forgive others because you're learning from them. You're saying, thank you for this experience. You have taught me to become a better person. You have taught me to not overanalyze this situation. You have taught me to look out for red flags. You have taught me to pursue something I'm passionate about and not settle for something I'm mediocre in. Whenever there's bad news, whenever there's situations we don't want to comprehend or take in for ourselves, we don't really want to acknowledge as the reality, we immediately begin to activate that self-critic, the negative one, I should say, the one that doesn't give you constructive criticism, the one that just beats you down and tells you you're a loser, you're worse than ever, you deserve to be at the bottom. And you know, these words might come across as very harsh, and I might, you know, say to you these things to your surprise, but I know you know what I'm talking about. I know you know that when you've been in a situation that you find yourself to be mediocre at, or you find yourself to maybe not put as much effort, or like I said, been wronged, been rejected, you immediately go to that dark place. You go to that place where you say, I'm not good enough, you know, I don't deserve this, no one will love me, no one will care about me, you know, I'll never get a job, I'll never get a lot of money. You go into that place, and it is only human, because naturally we think negative. Even the most positive person, we tend to think negative. And it becomes a skill, really. It becomes an art to think positive. You have to constantly go at it every day. You have to train your mind, rewire it, if you will, to think of all the positives in your life. And that's why I had videos about being grateful and looking around to your surroundings and saying, you know, writing down all the things that you look forward to in the morning and that you appreciate, whether it's the people in your life or possessions, your health, your career, and the house you live in. But that doesn't mean the negative self-critic will show up. That doesn't mean it won't be at a time when you're suffering, you're in pain, and the last thing you want to hear is your mind going off on a tangent, on a rant, telling you how much you know, you suck. It's not a pleasant experience. The reason why I think we struggle with forgiving ourselves and forgiving others is because we can't seem to silence this negative voice. We entertain it, we feed into it, and we often think that they're right. We often think that whatever's in our mind is right. And I've heard this a lot throughout the pandemic, through motivational videos, that your mind doesn't define you. Your mind is a separate entity. Your mind will always have ebbs and flows. It'll always have situations where it'll, tell you you're great, tell you you're awesome, but also tell you you're nothing but the scum of the earth. But I want you to take this into consideration. And that is that the past is a figment of our imagination. It does not exist. Anything that has happened to you yesterday, a year ago, 5 years ago, whoever wronged you, gave you pain, gave you suffering, it doesn't exist. You create that narrative. You create that story. You keep telling it to yourself. And I know it's easier said than done because I've been there. But you constantly telling yourself that these people, these events shaped you, influenced you, have an effect on you today makes no sense. We tell ourselves that because our subconscious creates it for us. We are aware of our existence. We are aware of time, right? The past, present, and future. But any other species on Earth, if you look at the grand scheme of life, the universe, does it really care what happened to you March 18th at 2 o'clock, 2009? Whatever negative comments or insults are being thrown my way in my head are all from a place of memory, are all from a place that we've created for ourselves. Most people struggle to forgive themselves and forgive others because they lack that one thing, and that is closure. Closure is when you're at peace with yourself. You know you did everything you could, everything in your power to make things right, even when things went wrong. A lot of people still struggle with this, I myself included. There's situations, there's moments in my life, there's people that I've encountered where you want that sense of closure. You want to know that you did everything to give you that peace of mind. That's not always the case. That's not how life works. There are things that we have to work through. There are things that we need to clear ourselves of. And this is why I'm saying clear your mind. This is why I'm saying you need to start refocusing your attention. Start identifying what are the things you're wasting your energy on. Because you're not going to have always that formal, I'm sorry, I did it wrong, you're right, or I'm sorry that you feel this way, but this is how I feel. You're not going to always have that civil discussion, a back and forth. There's sometimes just events just kind of disconnect. Like you disconnect from a person, you disconnect from a situation, you fall apart. Things just fall through, and it's up to you to kind of move forward with that. So when I speak of closure, it's not always, let's say, talking to a person and saying, I don't want to deal with this tension anymore. I don't want to deal with your toxicity. It's not that confrontation. Sometimes it's a confrontation with yourself. Do you want to forgive that person? Is that person worth it? Do you need to spend your time talking to them? Do they deserve your time, right? And when you ask yourself these questions, you start to see what is important to you. Is it really important to go out of your way to put yourself in that situation, to get that person's approval, that person's apology, a situation to be improved upon? Or is it better to be left alone? And is it better to be at peace with yourself in your heart, knowing that I did the best I could, and that is the past? And then by asking those questions, that's how you get to the root of the problem. You start to see, is this problem that severe? And in most cases, you'll probably say to yourself, no, it isn't. Because if I'm already asking myself, do I need to forgive them? Do they deserve my time? And you start answering no, no, no. Then you can say, wow, that closure didn't need to happen for me. That closure doesn't exist. I made it for myself by answering those questions. And that makes it easier for you to walk away. Thank you again, guys, for joining me on another Corner Talks. I really hope you enjoyed my discussion on how to forgive yourself and how to forgive others. It is so important that you have that moment of peace. You have that closure to whatever happened, whether it was wrong, whether it was an insult, a mistake, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you reach a point when you look yourself in the mirror, you look that person in the eyes, or you just whisper it to yourself, you whisper to your heart, and you forgive. You forgive all that has happened in the past. You realize that they're figments of your imagination, that the past does not exist, and only the present exists. And move to the future. If you agree or disagree to what I had to say, please leave your comments down below. I always love to hear your thoughts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Take care, and we'll talk soon.